Okay.
It's 12 noon on the East Coast, 9 a.m. on the West.
And this is Reprint.
This isn't breaking headlines. This is a second look with context added for perspective.
This is Reprint, edited after the headlines.
All right, good morning to the West Coast and good afternoon to the East Coast. This is the Reprint presented by Lennox and Parker. I am Crystal Jordan Jennings, editor-in-chief, along with...
And I'm Victor Flavius, publisher at Lennox and Parker.
Welcome.
How you doing? What's going on?
I am good. Good morning. How was your weekend?
It was quiet. I spent some time with the wife, went for a little hike, nice little Valentine's Day hike, if you want to call it that, and we just chilled out, watched TV, cooked dinner, just spent time together.
Nice.
We spent a lot of time together on the weekends, so that's what I did. Yeah. How about you? What you do?
Very nice. Well, my husband and I went to dinner, and then we went dinner and dancing. It was very nice. Dinner and dancing.
Ooh. What type of dancing? What type of dancing?
I guess like a club where they had like live music, and
Okay.
it was a lot of people there. It was just, we don't usually do stuff like that. I'm really a homebody, a lot more over the last few years, but we went out. I let him, he planned it.
Oh,
I
okay.
was a little concerned because usually I plan it. Usually I plan our outings, but he planned it, and he did a good job.
Shouts out to him.
Shouts
Out to him.
He did a good job. But it was, it was good just to spend the day with each other. And then we usually, so on Saturdays, we are working on really honoring Sabbath and not, being
nice.
But on Sunday, that's usually the day that we go spend time with our horses. And unfortunately, it was raining and kind of cold and dismal. So we didn't get a chance to do that. So we just kind of hung out. We spent Sunday together as well, just kind of hung out. And I did a little bit of work, not too much. But I hate the fact that I didn't get to do that. Trying to be more consistent with the horses, because we're working on being able to really like take them places and do stuff with them. So anyone who knows anything about horses know they take a lot of consistency. And so we're trying to really be consistent with like laying hands on them like at least 3 or 4 times a week. So
nice.
Yeah,
that's horses. Nice.
That's my therapy. That's my happy place. So, and I was blessed enough to find, to find a partner that has the same, happy place that I do. And so we enjoy that. What you said you guys went for a hike. We actually did that for Christmas. On Christmas, we went with friends of ours to a cabin, and we went on a hike on Christmas Day. So that was a great way to celebrate.
Yeah, California has a lot of nice places to go for walks and hikes, and we tend to look for new places every weekend and try to find some place to go. And it's something different to do, but we enjoy the outdoors as much as possible. So a good 11, 12,000 steps for the day, get those calorie burning, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
What does that equate to in like miles? If you do 11,000 steps, what is that?
So that's like 4,000. I mean, 4 miles, like maybe 3, 4, maybe even 5-ish. Like when you get to 20,000 steps a week. So like around 3 to 4 miles, which is not bad. You know what I'm saying? But it's consistency, like you said. We do it. If you do it every single day, that's where the pounds stay off. You know what I'm saying? So it's science behind the whole losing the weight and keeping, your body a certain way. There's a science behind that. So
Yeah, I'm working on that, Victor. Thank you. Like,
Trust me, we are all working on our weight and our energy and our, trying to the day, just trying to find work-life balance, Yeah.
life balance. Yeah, and I think I have noticed getting to a particular age in life, which age I do not like to talk about, but getting to this age has really, like, I have to kind of make some changes to be able to keep things as consistent as they were. When you're young, it's a lot different. When you're younger, I won't say younger. So at this stage in my life, I'm learning that it requires a little bit more consistency, maybe a little bit more discipline.
Of course.
To stay there. So, well, I'm glad you had a good weekend. Hopefully all of you did as well, regardless of how you spent it or who you spent with. Hopefully you had a chance to love on yourself a little bit over the weekend. I guess we can jump into today's topics. One of the cutest ones that I want to start with first, since we talked about Valentine's Day and the power of love and all that, is I had a chance to see, actually, a friend of mine, one of my good friends, sent me a beautiful post on Fantasia. Now, we've been, most of us became familiar with Fantasia when she was on American Idol. But I think one of the things that really stood out about Fantasia is that she's one of those artists that has always been authentic. Like, her story has always, it's never been like the polished, perfect, idea. It's always shown a lot of struggle. It shows a lot of heart, a lot of grit. And so this is her, I know that this is her second relationship. We kind of watched her go through heartbreak publicly before. But R&B star Fantasia received a surprise romantic proposal from her husband and businessman Kendall Taylor on Valentine's Day. The heartfelt moment she shared with fans on social media. And it was basically very, very emotional. It showed him basically walking out on stage and surprising her. And unlike some people with Fantasia, you could tell that she was very surprised, because she automatically was in tears. He was kind of talking a little bit about their testimony and the fact that they've been through, a lot together. And they have prayed together, they fasted together, they've really, committed their lives to God. And so he basically said he's like, I got something I've got to make right. And I was thinking, like, what is he going to do? Because obviously they're already married, but he actually got down on one knee and proposed it publicly, and gave her another ring. And she just was in tears. And she just has such a sweet, gentle, and authentic spirit. So when he's like down on his knee, telling her how amazing she is as a partner, she gets down there with them and they're crying. It was just beautiful, a beautiful testament to like true love, and the fact that just because you get married doesn't mean that trials stop or that challenges stop. And but when you have someone that you can roll through difficulties with, it means a lot. It was just I thought it was beautiful.
Yeah, I think Fantasia is our generation's Patti LaBelle, Anita Baker, our generation's Gladys Knight. She shows her personal side. She's very personable, like we talked about earlier. She is very to her audience when she performs, and when you see Fantasia get on stage and she sings from her heart, from her soul. She's sweating, she's crying, she's moving around, she's in different guests. Shoes are off, she's preaching, she's praying, she's crying, she's being very vulnerable on stage. So to see her husband do this after 11 years of marriage is encouraging, because we see a lot of Hollywood relationships, reality TV relationships where people get together and it's like, okay, I'm gonna marry you, and then divorce you after a certain amount of months, and then you got to pay me $40,000 a month. We're looking at that situation right now, right? See, this is very encouraging, especially Black love, because a lot of people are like, oh, black man, black woman, don't do this and don't provide for this, and see that he was like, okay, it's been 11 years. We're already married. We have a life. We're secure. But I didn't do this part that society's pushing, but I'm going to do it my way.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, if you think about it, we go to college, then we try to find love, and then we go get married, and we're going to have this luxurious wedding, this big, $200,000, $500,000, whatever wedding, the guy has to go get the ring, which costs an arm and a leg. Then you got to pay for the wedding. Then you got to all the stuff. And then when you're done getting married, where are you going to live? In an apartment? Where you going? You know what I'm saying? It's almost like we have it backwards, right? I saw a video where it was a Jewish guy giving some feedback, and I don't know if it was AI or not, but it was pretty much a video saying people get married and have these expensive weddings, and the Jews get married and have expensive weddings too, but their weddings are more business deals. So they're like all the men get in the room and they have business deals. They're 4, 5, 20-year deals. So by the time by the time you sign the deal to get married, you already have businesses set up in your name and all this other stuff going on. Where we get married and there's nothing happening, just spend money and bad debt. But I say all that to say that I was happy to see that he did that, that Kendall did that. I'm wishing him more success in the future. I want to see them together long term, and that was cool. That was really cool.
I hope so too. I think that Fantasia is one of those artists that you just root for because you see yourself in her. You see just somebody that is very deserving and doesn't put on airs, and so I think that makes people trust her a lot in a different way than some other celebrities. I'm glad that she's found a way to be herself authentically and also to be successful, because sometimes when you are your authentic self, sometimes that does not mesh with the the fan base that you curate. So the only thing I would say this, and I know this is okay for them because they are obviously, in a different tax bracket than the average person. But he said during the proposal, he said, I want to give you, I guess they've been together 11 years. And he said, I want to give you this 11 carat ring for each year, of us being together. And I hope that is not what most people focus on. You know what I mean? Like,
they will. You know they will. Come on.
I was like, that part. And I know for him, he's probably trying to just show his wife how much he, was
symbolic.
Sacrifice for her. But I think a lot of times women that are not, women that are not aware of really what that means will focus on like, oh, she got an 11 carat ring. But it's not about, it's about the intent and the heart behind it more than it's about the carats, And I just think sometimes that can get misconstrued. I know that women make a big deal. I mean, I as well, we all want a nice ring, but realistically, and I can say this, after being married twice, I would rather have less carats and more genuine love than more carats and less genuine love. If you stay together forever, then you can always upgrade a ring, right? But if you get an amazing ring and you don't have an amazing marriage, then what's the point? What's the point? So I would just want to say, I do think that in the way we look at marriage, I think less focus should be on the cost or the carats of the ring, and more of it should be on just the true love and the authenticity of a man truly wanting to make you his wife and to do right by you. And I know this can be difficult to understand when you haven't been through it, but the carats don't matter. It's really, you see people with, I don't know how many carats, some celebrities get married and they have these big weddings, and then it's grand opening, grand closing, and I don't know, at that point she gets to keep the ring or he gets to keep the ring. The ring doesn't matter. The ring does not matter without the intent and the commitment to going through tough times. And I think a lot of people today get married with the idea, if something isn't perfect or if someone if there's struggle, I can get out of this, right? And I think that's someone that's willing to go through difficult times and is willing to stay committed and truly follow the vows is worth much more than, however, it's 11, 12, 13 carats,
Yeah,
So
I mean, a couple that prays together will stay together. I believe. The things in life, the cars and the jewelry and the homes and all this other stuff will come and go, but the
Mhm.
person that you stay with, that meets you where you are and grow with you. The key word is grow with you. Then that's important. Guy and girl have to grow together. You can't just be not growing and she's growing, or vice versa. It has to be both have to grow together, pray together, go through life together. That's what it's about.
Yeah,
And,
and
and expect reality.
you may grow at different times, but you
Yeah,
can't
you will. Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
be willing to check out because they didn't grow at the same rate that you did. Now, if they're not trying to grow at all, that's different. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I love seeing that demonstrated, because I think a lot of times what we see demonstrated on social media is things that are performative and that are not really, people saying, "Hey, I love you, but we've gone through some stuff and we've been there for each other." I had a conversation with my husband, because he's not a big social media fan. And he said that he doesn't like it because people get on there and they only show like the fake stuff, and they don't show like, what the struggle is, what really it takes to be in a real relationship. They just show the fake and the hype. And I understand where he's coming from. And I think that's what makes someone like this, what Fantasia's husband did, so beautiful, because he did say, we've gone through a lot. It has not been easy. And you could just see in the way they were responding to each other. It was almost like, even though she was in front of a huge audience, it was almost like it was just the two of them there really connecting. So just beautiful.
Yeah, it's hard when you have a business and a person involved together as the same entity, because Fantasia is her business, and so sometimes you have to answer to your people who are paying the paychecks and the concerts, and
Mhm.
there's a lot that goes into there's a lot that goes into being a celebrity. There's a lot that goes into being a singer, a songwriter, an artist. There's a lot that goes into it, and people, if you don't understand that side of the world, it's hard, and I'm sure she has been through a lot, contractual wise, dealing with the public scrutiny, legal issues, concert issues. I mean, there's a lot that goes into her career. So, shouts out to them,
Yeah. So we just thought that would be a great way to get back into
Yeah.
the news week, just sharing some love. Also, another amazing story is there was some heat raised this weekend at the All-Star game when R&B icon Brandy delivered a standout performance of the national anthem. Like we said, this was at the 2026 NBA All-Star game in Indianapolis. She actually gave the national anthem a fresh emotional resonance. Her rendition was widely praised for its vocal strength and heartfelt delivery. You guys know people in the industry refer to Brandy as the vocal Bible, because
Mm-hmm.
her vocals her tone is just, I don't think it's incomparable. Definitely.
Brandy
Just
Norwood, yeah.
yeah, she's one of my favorites. I don't think you can enjoy R&B without really,
Mm-mm.
Brandy being one of your tops. But we have a little clip of it, and I just wanted to play a quick clip of this national anthem because it sounded so different. And I think it was just beautifully done. Definitely showcased the best of Brandy. Also accompanying her on this rendition is June's Diary. It's a girl group that was founded by Kelly Rowland. So we'll take a little snippet of the national anthem via Brandy.
That our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
That was dope. I love that. That was like Boys to Men ish, but not to say they're not, but those girls could sing. I mean, I love that. That was good.
Yeah,
That was so soulful and refreshing.
it was different, but
Refreshing. Yeah.
it's funny because Brandy, when you will think that you can sing along with her, but then you realize no. Um, it's just her tone is just like I said, it's incomparable. But I love the freshness
Hmm.
of it and different. And I love the fact that you could understand. It was easily translatable. It was easy, And
Yeah.
I felt like the costumes were kind of a salute to the people in
Mhm.
service, military.
Yeah.
It was. I thought it was a great rendition, and Brandy's such a hard worker. Anyone that has that type of success and is known for being vocally astute at all times, she does not take her gift lightly. I heard an interview with her recently, and she was talking about how she's a perfectionist, and some of her older songs, people were asking to hear, and she was like, "My voice is different than it was then." I did an album. I think she did
Yep.
an album and she said she's not in that range anymore. But I'm listening to her and I'm like, girl, you sound amazing. But she's a perfectionist, and
Yeah.
I think you can hear, the fact that rendition was specifically something that complimented her vocals. The girls were amazing as her accompanist on that song. And she's just amazing. But I think we have to remember when anyone is an icon at that level, it has taken a lot of hard work in addition to talent, because there's a lot of very talented people that have not gotten to that level of success or would have some losses. Like, okay, she performed here and it didn't sound great, but Brandy is
Yeah.
more consistent, and that comes from a lot of hard work and from her taking her talent and not taking it for granted, but being willing to put the hard work in. So
Yeah, coming off of Brandy Monica tour, that
Done.
she's amazing. I mean, um, she's had a very illustrious career.
Mhm.
She had ups and downs as well. She was a teen, a child
Star,
prodigy of Whitney Houston.
star. Yep.
And then she grew and she had a kid, and the kid's now an adult. And we
Mhm.
saw Brandy transform from uh motherhood to being back to Brandy again.
Mhm.
She was on a Fox TV show with Queen Latifah. What was it called? The show with Queen Latifah, where she was a person. She was anyhow. She did two TV shows. One with Queen Latifah. She was a guest star, and then she did the one. And then she did the one with Eve and the girl group or whatever.
That was later. Yeah. What was
Yeah.
Moesha? Like I'm saying, she started
Well,
with
Moesha, yeah, well, Moesha. But I'm saying after she became a pop sensation, she took a
Mhm.
break because of motherhood, and then she struggled a bit coming back to the scene. But when she made her re-entry, it was into film and television, which
Right.
gave her bearings, and then she moved back into singing. And we see her now as Brandy from what we knew her from before, and her vocal ability has not changed. She has been amazing, vocal, talented, skilled. Although we see what's going on with her brother Ray J, throw him in there because that's still collateral damage. Whatever he does, it blows back on Brandy to some degree. But to see her integrity and to see her vocal ability, and even in the interview that you mentioned earlier, that she is correct. I mean, you grow and people expect you to sing a song that you sang when you were 15 and now you're like 40. Is like, dude, my voice is different. I can't. Those notes I can hit, but it's not going to work. But
It won't sound
also,
exactly like it did. Yeah.
yeah, also we have to expect growth in our artists and in our artistry and in our people. We have to expect people to grow. So I commend her on being who she is and where she is now in her career.
Yeah.
Brandy
I agree. So that show you were talking about is called Star. It's
Star, yeah.
yeah, and then she was on Queens, which there was
Yep.
one season of that with Eve. But I just think and she's been in some movies. She did a couple
Mhm.
of Christmas movies. I think you were speaking of she did Cinderella with
Yep. Whitney
Whitney
Houston.
Houston. That is just iconic. Beautiful to see the two of them together. Obviously, they were very close outside of the entertainment. Both of them also very, very real. Brandy seems very
Yeah.
much like that. I actually had an opportunity. I when I first started writing, this was back
Mhm.
before I moved to Atlanta, I ended up having a conversation with Miss Sonia Norwood, who was Brandy and Ray
Oh,
J's mom, about doing a book on parenting, and managing your children, the momager, idea. And at the time, she'd had a Brandy. I mean, a lot of people forget Brandy was the biggest thing in pop culture for a while with Moesha. She had Barbie dolls. She was doing ads. She was huge. That show catapulted her into superstardom, and that had to be difficult, going through that as a young woman, being looked at as as you go through puberty. I always think that's probably the most difficult time to be in the public eye, is when you have to be, looked at, and you're getting used to the changes in your body, and other people are, um, being critical, of you. But in any
yeah.
case, I remember having a conversation with her mother, and we were about to start this. I was going to ghostwrite the book for her, and Brandy had that accident where someone unfortunately passed away, and all of that kind of got put on hold. But she has gone through, and life is going to take you through things, and she's gone through a lot, but she's managed to maintain her professionalism in everything. I think we've never seen her step out of that, even though we definitely have seen her brother. But that's also the thing I like about Brandy and Ray J, even though Ray J is definitely struggling, is I love the fact that no matter what he goes through or what he does, she's clear, that's still my brother. And I love my
Yeah.
brother. That's still my that song that she had, Best Friend. It always reminds me of the relationship between myself and my younger brother. But family's not perfect. And, just because one person doesn't, operate a certain way doesn't mean a family member might. But I love to see her continue to shine. And we also send prayers out to Ray J that he will, be in a better place as well.
Yeah. Shouts out to the Norwood family, and prayers for Ray J.
It can't be easy being in the public eye.
Yeah.
Speaking of families, also in the public eye, over the weekend, we saw former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama enjoyed a rare family date night. They were also at the NBA All-Star game with Sasha, their daughter. The Obamas were spotted courtside, soaking in the game and sharing relaxed family moments with a few more high-profile people. Also, in addition to this sighting, Obama did a interview recently, a podcast interview, and he acknowledged a few things. He He sparked global headlines after saying on a podcast that aliens are real, but I have not seen them, and firmly denying they are being hidden at Area 51. He later clarified that he was speaking about the statistical likelihood of life elsewhere in the universe, not confirmed contact. This was on Brian Tyler Cohen's podcast, and that definitely went viral. He also asked him about the post that President Trump made depicting he and Michelle as monkeys. And Obama continues to stay classy and will not, he doesn't really stoop down. He just said that there's a lot of things that are done for distraction. He also said that the majority of people do not, are not entertained by that. And he said there was a lot of silly stuff going on, a lot of stupid stuff happening, but he never would give energy to it by actually speaking directly about President Trump. But he just said the majority of people do not feel that way, and that there's a lot of things being done to distract us from the bigger picture.
Yeah, he's a class act. I don't think he needs to speak out against what Trump is doing or has said, because we have to look at the grander scheme of things in context. History will remember this forever. This is going to be in history books of how the president acted before, after, and during. He is probably, besides Clinton, he is probably the most visible president on record. And if you think too, before Barack Obama was president, the internet wasn't as big. It wasn't like it had just started.
Mm-hmm.
And so Barack Obama was the internet's president, pretty much, right? He was the digital person. He was the person that got young people to vote, and whatever the case was, right? And so, if you look at on record from the time he became president to now, he has been a positive influence in society. Now, yeah, there's been talk about drone strikes in his administration, and people will say stuff like he deported more people under his administration than other presidents. All that's controversy. That's government stuff. But I'm talking about him as a person, as a president, as a public figure. He has stand up as a class act from the time he walked into the White House to the time he left. No matter what Trump is saying that he doesn't have a U.S. birth citizenship, he doesn't have this. Michelle Obama is wearing all these expensive dresses. What are they doing? This, that, this, and the third. He's a monkey, all this stuff. And the Obamas have remained positive, and all they do is put out positive energy and put out documentaries and go on shows. And even at this NBA All-Star game, they had standing ovation. Everyone clapping, because this man is a genuine people person, if that's the correct word to say it, right? He started out, in the community and dealing with people, and people love Obama. He's charismatic. He's nice. He says, nice things. His wife is positive. I mean, I'm sure everyone has a side to them or whatever in moments, but whenever he's in the public eye, he's always professional and polite and kind and down to earth. We can say the opposite about the Trumps. We can say the opposite about Donald Trump. We haven't seen Obama say anything about anybody bad. He might have said stern words after being heckled, but we've seen Trump use the F-bomb. We've seen Trump, put up the bird. We've seen Trump do a lot of things and say a lot of nasty things about people and their countries. And Obama's the opposite of all of that. He's a stand-up guy. He's a good guy.
I think there's something to be said for diplomacy, and it feels like today's culture does not always respect diplomacy. But I feel like myself personally, I have a big thing. I to teach charm and etiquette courses, and I just think that there's something to be said overall, right, about someone that maintains their composure in the face of adversity. I think that is definitely tells you about the person's character, and not saying that everyone can't be knocked off their mark sometime, but I think it shows a sign of maturity and just good character, to not respond in a negative or emotional way. And I think that's what we see with Obama. I do think it's interesting that he backtracked a little bit on the alien acknowledgement, and that's probably because that was protocol. They were like, you can't say that, but
no.
I don't even know. I'm not concerned about the aliens at this point. I'm really concerned about what's going on here. So, and I think what we've realized in the last few years is that there's so much going on with the government and other affluent persons of interest, right? That are affecting the everyday person in ways that we don't know. So I think, my background in public relations suggests you don't always share. There's a time to share things because the public, if exposed to too much information, there's going to be chaos. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing in this administration, is a lot of chaos, right? Because things are shared that are not, that should not be. But I also think the Obamas, to me, this is just my personal opinion from watching, he drops little bits of information, like this, him acknowledging the aliens, and even the movie that they created for Netflix, Leave the World Behind.
Oh yeah, that was good. I know, right?
Interesting, bits of information that to me could foreshadow some things to come. I'm not sure. It just feels very strange that they would choose that particular story. I know they have a deal with Netflix, but they do always carry themselves with class. I think Michelle has a pot. She does a lot more talking now that she's not first lady. She's able to be
Yeah.
honest about a lot of things on her podcast. But Obama specifically, it just always is the epitome of diplomacy in class. And I'm glad that we still see that in the face of some other things. And the fact that I know most people would want him to respond very adamantly and passionately about that meme that all of us were upset about, the fact that he maintained his composure and didn't give it energy would probably influence other people to dismiss it and not be as bothered by it as well.
Maybe when he's 80, we might get that. When he has a beard and he's 80, might get some more, some real.
I think it's like that. People always say about me, I don't really lose my composure because, like I said, I was taught, and I really strongly believe in just being diplomatic and always carrying yourself with a certain amount of class. And
No, I agree. I'm just saying, I think at some point as you get older, I always say as I get older, I tend to have less patience with people.
Yeah.
And I think when he gets into his 80s, or 90s or whatever, and he can sit back and, he doesn't care, his journey's over, he can speak more loosely. He might be able to say he might, I don't know. But you have to remember too, a lot of people that see the Obama was president for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people that are 30 years and 25 and 30 and 35 years old, that's the president they grew up on.
Mm-hmm.
So to see the world when he was president and to see the world now when they're adults and Trump is president, they are losing it. People are like, how could you say this man's a monkey and all this other stuff? When we were born, he was president. Think of that, 8 years, right? So that person 8 years ago, so they're in their 20s and 30s now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you saw President Obama, and you lived through that moment of your life. Your parents were happy and things were a certain way and whatever. And now we see Trump, and you're an adult, and you're like, this cannot be what our president's supposed to be like, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, the Obamas are class acts, and they are, again, I say, history will tell you later on how things were, and for him to be the way he is what we need in our community for history to remember. And so history is going to remember President Obama as being who he is right now, and I'm grateful for that, because we don't need a president that's going to flare up and because if you say one bad thing, that's it. It's like
that was
going to be a footnote in his history.
Yeah, my conversation with Tony Rock, and this article is coming on Linux and Parker today. He was like, I think this is crazy, because if there was anything, if Obama had done anything, it would have been blown up and people would have went crazy. But, compared to what is happening right now, Tracy Cherie says, I can't wait for that old man talk. Tell us how you really feel. You know what, when you said that, I was thinking about how Denzel Washington was always this very diplomatic person, never gave too much information in interviews, didn't do a lot of interviews. And now that he is in his 70s,
he's like, whatever.
The old man talk is happening. It's definitely, I don't know what's going to happen on his next press run, because this last one, he's definitely letting it go. But yeah, it was good to see them. I'm sure more information is going to be coming out. That interview was interesting, but to hear him acknowledge that, I still think him acknowledging aliens, there's something to that. And the fact that he had to backpedal on it a little bit. Moving on, former UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez, who was serving a long-term prison sentence for a shooting incident in Salinas, California, has reportedly been released from custody early this year. Velasquez's release closes a contentious chapter for the former MMA great, whose legal troubles and incarceration shocked the combat sports community. So this was really interesting, because from what I understand, and Victor, you may have a little bit more context on this, I'm not sure, but from what I understand, he was arrested for shooting someone that allegedly was responsible for molesting some family member. And that's why I thought it was just an interesting case, because if I was in the jury for a case like this, I would have had a difficult time putting that person, giving them a guilty verdict. Now, what is the facts on the case are he was arrested for this shooting happened in Salinas, California. The allegations were that he shot his ex-wife and another man, and he was sentenced to that prison term after pleading no contest to the charges. But like I said, there were allegations that there was more to that disagreement, and Victor is gone. It's Victor. Okay, Victor is back. Okay.
I don't know. I lost you were lagging, and then something happened.
I'm not sure, but did you have more context on that Cain story?
No, I don't follow a lot of the MMA fighting situations. Yeah, I didn't follow this story at all. There's a lot going on in the world.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I didn't follow this story at all.
Yeah, there was
a
lot of people are saying that he had fans that were kind of split, but I just thought this was an interesting case because of the allegations associated with it. And I've always said, if someone in my family had been touched inappropriately, or even, it would be difficult for me to rely on the government or the justice system. I just think it would be difficult. And I think the way that the law is written, the person could be considered not guilty, like this case that I sat on the jury for. All the evidence showed that this man was guilty of SA against an 11-year-old child. But because of some of the jurors on the jury pool not feeling uncomfortable about sending a man to prison for something that happened a long time ago, and they said, well, it hasn't happened again, people didn't want to come back with a guilty verdict. And so I think it would be just difficult living in this country for me to trust the criminal justice system to right a wrong done to someone that I love. That would be very difficult for me. So
yeah, me too. But it happens all the time. I think because this is a high profile athlete, that it gets the time of day. But I think this happens a lot in this world, in this country. But he's a MMA fighter. His hands are probably registered as weapons. So that right there is an interesting take on. He used a gun, so he killed someone. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have hands that could be registered, but if someone did something, I would figure it out. And I don't think I would. I don't think I would wait on the law. And that's probably bad for me to say, but I'm being honest. being 100% honest. And we see
how long did he serve? I'm
not sure. I know that he was supposed to be indefinitely, there. And I'm also, I believe so there was a reason that they went back and I guess reassessed the case. I don't see, I also think, it's interesting because for what I believe with the criminal justice department, it says TMZ actually reported that he was released from prison, but specific details about parole conditions or exact release date were not officially confirmed. It's still kind of hush in a strange way. But, when you're talking about a criminal justice system in this country, someone that looks like this, when you see someone that is a part of a sport that is violent by nature, I would think it would be difficult to get a unbiased jury. Because I would look at him and think,
true. Yeah,
Anyway, interesting.
But he used a firearm, so I don't think. If he used his fists and he beat the guy, bloody or whatever, that might have been the case, and it might have shown psychological imbalance on his part. But the fact that he used a firearm probably was the reason what made the difference, because it requires nothing but pulling a trigger. Of course, you premeditated murder. You got to think about it ahead of time, but you still,
But
he
I
didn't
still
use his.
they would see him as violent though, like just by the nature of being a
Yeah,
violent, just because of what he looks like and what he does for a living. I would assume that most people, and I don't even think that's like
yeah.
racial, but I mean race does play a part. I mean, he's got tattoos. He looks like he could beat you up. You know, what I mean, he looks pretty dangerous. So
He played the
sitting in
part. Yeah,
looking at him, it would be hard not
yeah.
to assume that he can have a violent nature, even though that's unfair. And that's one of the things that I've really learned just about our judicial system. It's just very difficult to get a fair trial.
Profiling.
Yeah.
This country is built on I saw I heard an interview by the czar that Trump appointed for border patrol or border czar, and he said that the DHS and Department of Homeland Security, they're not profiling people. They're not profiling people based upon ethnicity. And I'm like, what? Are you serious right now? Like, people you picking up are only brown and black people. What are you talking about? But this is profiling, right? You just profiled him. You said your tattoos. He's a boxer. It's like,
Yeah, we all do it. It's just
I know now. I know. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's what that term is. Yeah.
It is absolutely. And
Interesting.
that's good. Are we is ICE looking for Scandinavians and Russian and immigrants as well? Are we looking for immigrants from Sweden as well?
I don't know. I haven't seen any stories.
I've never seen any
people of-
Swedish.
They go after the Haitians, going after Somalians. They're picking up Mexicans and Colombians and anyone else, but I don't see anyone from Finland. I don't see anyone from Russia. I don't see anyone from those other countries being picked up. Yeah.
Just wondered.
It's funny if you look at the news. You said what?
I didn't say anything.
No, I don't know. No, those Scandinavians. No.
Moving on to this really sad case that we keep talking about. There's not really much new information. In the search for missing Arizona woman Nancy Guthrie, the FBI recovered a glove containing DNA that appears to match the pair worn by a masked suspect seen on surveillance footage the night she vanished. The discovery provides a potentially crucial lead in the case, which has entered its third week without an arrest. And then I saw something that said that it could take weeks or months to find this woman. There's no, they don't have any true information. This glove had DNA that was not hers or anyone in the families, but they're just still not able to make concrete, leeway with this. We are struggling with the connection today. I'm not sure what's going on. Victor, can you hear me? Not sure what's happening today, guys, but we are definitely struggling with the connection. The East Coast and West Coast connection is not working out today. Okay, we're gonna move on to the Epstein files, even though you guys know this is my least favorite. This is my least favorite topic right now. I'm so over all the different issues that we keep dealing with and keep hearing, all the different leaks that keep coming out with the Epstein.
I'm back. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just the connection is crazy today. But newly unsealed Epstein files include a 2011 email referencing a question Jeffrey Epstein allegedly asked Bill Gates about how to get rid of poor people as a whole. This phrase appears in correspondence from a third party, not as a direct statement from Gates, and no document shows Gates making or endorsing the remark. As scrutiny around Epstein's network continues, experts urge caution in interpreting fragmented excerpts from decades-old communications, although it's really difficult to assume how you could misinterpret how to get rid of poor people as a whole. I don't know what context you would use that in where it would be acceptable, but it's pretty damning in my opinion. And then also when you connect that to the COVID issue and how there was so much controversy over the vaccines, we want to be really careful not to promote misinformation, but I do think this is something that we have to be honest about. You know, a lot of questions have come up, you know, about the vaccinations. There was a lot of people, I know personally, a lot of people that were sick, that I know several people that were unalived after taking the vaccine, after receiving a vaccine, that, you know, it led to them no longer being here, or it led to long-term complications, you know. And so I also know that there was a huge push to get vaccine information to impoverished neighborhoods, right? That was a huge push by the government, and under the guise of, you know, wanting to educate and to help people in underserved communities. But I'm not, you know, I think all this is going to have to play out, but not sure how that's going to go. Victor, can you hear me? Not sure what's going on today, guys. I think we are having technical difficulties, and so
Yeah, I can hear you now. I don't know what's going on with the internet. It's in and out.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to just end today a little early because we are having difficulty and it's kind of disjointed. We will be back on Wednesday. We'll figure out what's going on with the internet. We'll be back on Wednesday, 9 a.m. on the West Coast, 12 noon on the East Coast. We apologize for the technical difficulties for today, but we appreciate you guys tuning in and look forward to seeing you guys back here on Wednesday.
Sorry, guys.
It's 12 noon on the East Coast, 9 a.m. on the West.
And this is Reprint.
This isn't breaking headlines. This is a second look with context added for perspective.
This is Reprint, edited after the headlines.